it's July now, and I'm going to talk about the books that I've read over the last month. So the only book that I've actually completed is this book. It's Walking on Glass by Iain Banks. So I have read an Iain Banks book before. It was a long time ago. When I was like a young teen, I read The Wasp Factory. This book is The Wasp Factory is very strange, very surreal, but I remember it being really, really readable. Like I actually read it, which at that age I didn't actually finish many books. So it's always sort of stayed in my mind as a book that I had enjoyed. So when I got this opportunity to read another Iain Banks book, I thought I would give that a try. So Iain Banks, I find a really, really good writer, just really, really readable, like the sort of book that you just feel like you can't put down. And I really do feel that if I have had the situation, I could have actually just sat and read the book from start to finish, because it's just so easy to read and enjoyable. And similarly to The Wasp Factory, it was sort of surreal and strange, and some strange characters and things which seem like normal, but are not normal. Okay, so in this book there's basically three stories, three sort of main characters. There's Graham, who's like a uni art student, who's in love with this girl, and each section of his story, you're sort of following him on his way to meeting her and getting the history of their time together and where they are in their relationship. The other story is Stephen Grout, who's a bit of an odd character, and I'm not sure if he's supposed to be sort of slightly schizophrenic or bipolar sort of, but he's got things going on, and he's definitely struggling to interact with the normal world. You also, as you get to know him, you see that he's actually like chronically naive, such as his meeting with the drunk bloke, which you see how actually he's very naive and really just needs somebody, some help. Right, and then there's also, the third story is just completely different. It's like a completely different world. It's like a sort of fantasy world, not like weird fantasy, like fantastical. And it's just like completely different. So there's this old man and old woman, and they're sort of trapped in these old bodies. And they're stuck in this falling down, crumbling castle with bizarre sort of tons of minion stuff and just totally weird stuff going on. Like, it's so weird and strange. And they have to play these really long, boring games that go on for like years. And each time they finish a game, they get the opportunity to try and answer a riddle. And if they can get the right answer to the riddle, they'll be able to leave. It's like so weird. It's like really readable. Anyway, so these three stories, they're sort of separate, but they're intermingled, and then they gradually become a little bit more connected towards the end. So, should be all good, right? So I was enjoying this book, I was reading it, couldn't put it down, and then it just ended. So the first story, the art student, that comes to an ending. It's weird. It was unexpected. Definitely unexpected. But it definitely came to an ending. The Stephen Grout character, it ended. There was definitely some loose ends, not tied up, but it ended. And you could see how it sort of connected to the first story. And there was a little bit of a connection to the third one. And I really wanted to understand that more. And then the third one, which should have been like its final chapter, instead of tying up the loose ends and explaining things, it just got weirder and weirder and more complicated, and then it just ended. I was like, you haven't explained why this or why that or any of these other things, and I was so frustrated and annoyed when it ended. I was complaining about it a lot because it just ended. It didn't answer. Like, this is the weird, fantastic world where there's like created this whole other world for you to learn about, but not just giving you all these bizarre things and not explained them or how they fit together or how it works. It's very annoying. So it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, but the ending was awful because it just didn't even end. Anyway, so that was that book. I would definitely read more Iain Banks because I just find him so, I don't know, he's a strange writer. Like, really enjoyable read, but like really weird. Okay, so I also tried to read another book this month and failed at it, but I wanted to just talk briefly about it. So it was this book called The Yellow Cross, and it's about the Cathars, who was sort of this heretical group in, well, this is like 1290 to 1329. This was sort of the end of their time, that were actually sort of shut down by the Catholic Church as an actual crusade to destroy this heretical group of Christians. And it's just really interesting. It was as much a social movement as a religious movement as well. And it sounds really, really interesting. I've heard little bits about it. So I was really keen to read a book about it. This book was shockingly boring. It's written by a university lecturer, and I know there are good books written by university lecturers, but this is just like a typical boring, drony, never actually getting to the interesting bit book. And his introduction was really long, and it seemed as if it was going to be relevant, so I read it, and it literally went on for like 30 something pages, and then I'm on to like the prologue, which was again going on for like 30 pages, and it was just so chronically boring. And then we actually got to finally got to the first chapter after like 70 pages, and it was just like more of the same. I just thought, I can't do this. This has already killed me with boredom before we've actually got to the boringness of the book. I just wasn't getting to the interesting stuff. So I've completely turned my back on that book. But I just thought I'd mention it because I would really like to read and find out more about the Cathars and that whole movement in the region. It's in like sort of southern France, coming across from Spain, southern France, and into Italy. And it just sounds so interesting. This was not the book for me to learn about it, but I thought if anybody else knows of a really good book about it, I would definitely be interested to learn more about them. So I went straight on to the next book that I want to read. I had like a whole stack of books that I want to read over the coming months, and one of them was this one, which is Autobiography of a Yogi. Oh man, I'm going to have to try and pronounce this name now. We'll get to that next month. I've heard a few people say it, and they say it so finely. I'm going to have to practice though. So this book is going really, really well, and I'm really enjoying it, and hopefully I'll be in a position where next month where I've finished it and I can talk more about it. Okay, so that's going to be it for now. Okay, thank you.